Welcome everyone. I hope you're doing well today. Today, to go along with my playing spooky games for October, I will be playing Karamu. We play as a girl named Nellie whose bike unfortunately breaks down. So she is stuck in a forest, and her ex-boyfriend Raku actually comes in and tries to help her, and he doesn't really want to break up. So we're gonna have to try and figure out how to navigate that situation, especially being stuck in the forest. Hopefully it goes well. I will be praying so hard. As always, I will be keeping all links in the description if you guys want to try out the game, check out the devs or anything that goes along with that. So let's go ahead and get started. So quick warning, I did technically play this like a few months ago, but my recording got corrupted and I got so mad I didn't want to pick up the game for a bit. But since it's October, I decided to go ahead and just record this and have a fresh gameplay. So hopefully I get a good end. I honestly don't really remember the ending I got. So if it's the same thing, I'm perfectly fine with that. Nellie's throat stung as she gulped the cold dawn air. Her arms were shaking. The muscles ached so much that she struggled to grasp the handles. The haggard squeaks from the wheels of her bike tore through the silence that permeated the dark forest. She choked from breath around the small flashlight clenched between her teeth. The light was modest, only illuminating a small patch of the road directly in front of her bike. She needed to hurry. The sun was almost starting to rise. It was okay. There were only 3 left. Nellie drove her heel down, pedaling with new vigor. She raised herself from the seat, leaning over the handles of the bike as she frantically turned the pedals, going faster and faster and faster until... snap. Terror ripped through Nellie as she was flung over the handles of her bike. She instinctively covered her face with her arm before she hit the ground. Her shoulder smacked against the concrete, and a jolt of pain tore through the right side of her body. For a moment, she lay on the road, trying to steady her shaky breaths as the throbbing pain subsided into a dull ache. As soon as her head stopped spinning, she forced herself up on her elbows. She rotated her shoulder. It still hurt, but she could move it without any issues. Her knees and arms stung too. At first, she was going to check them for injuries, but then she stopped herself. She got up on her knees and looked around, squinting in an attempt to pierce the murkiness of the early dawn light. Heart pounding, she patted the ground all around her. She found it. She breathed a sigh of relief. The yellow bag had fallen off to the side. She pulled it closer and examined it carefully. The zipper was shut tightly. Everything was still inside. She slung the bag back over her shoulder and retrieved the fallen flashlight before turning her attention to her bike. It had collapsed on the side, wheels still spinning. The chain had come undone, draped over the ground like a dead snake. She picked up the chain. It was strangely slack.
Nellie.
Oh? She looked up. Cold tingles ran down her neck and through her spine, sending a chill running all the way to her fingers and toes. Ooh, and there's our boy. Raku was standing over her. Rakuo Kumode, her ex-boyfriend. The tall young man peered down at her with curious, icy eyes from under the fringe of his badly dyed hair. Dang, you had to go after him like that. What was he doing here? How could he be here? Right now, at this exact moment. Right when she would have done anything to avoid seeing him.
What are you doing here?
Do we want to be cold? Let's be a bit cold.
That's none of your business, is it?
Right.
He sheepishly rubbed the back of his neck.
I was out for a walk myself. Drank too many energy drinks to power through the night, so I'm trying to burn off some of the caffeine.
His voice trailed off.
Anyway, are you alright? Fell off your bike?
He extended a hand. Nellie didn't take it. She stood up and slung the bag around her shoulder again, ignoring the mud and twigs stuck to her raincoat. Raku smiled awkwardly and retracted the hand before kneeling by her bike.
Your chain.
Was it you?
It's broken.
What?
Raku picked up the broken ends of the chain and waved them around.
Don't think you'll be able to ride it for a while, unfortunately. You're heading home, right? Me too. I'll walk with you.
Nellie's voice caught in her throat. She tried to think of some excuse, anything that she could blurt out to make him go away, but she couldn't think of anything. Raku's face softened with a melancholic expression.
We don't have to talk. I just don't want to leave you alone out here. Not after what happened to Sana.
Nellie bit her lip. Sana, her roommate and her best friend since middle school, had vanished 3 months ago. A week later, her body was found at the bottom of a cliff in this very forest, mangled beyond recognition. A tragic hiking accident.
I'm fine. I don't need you to escort me.
Raku frowned.
I'm sorry, but I can't abandon you here knowing your bike's broken. I don't care if you hate me. Just let me walk with you.
You know, that's not a bad idea. We're kind of just by ourselves out here. Even though he's an ex-boyfriend, hopefully we trust him enough to at least keep us company until we reach, like, civilization. Raku extended a hand.
Want me to carry the bag for you?
No.
Nellie jerked away. It's heavy? If we say it's heavy, I'm trying to think. If we say it's heavy, he might be like, I'm stronger than you, I can carry it. Well, if we say nothing about it? She held the bag close. He didn't respond. Instead, he placed both hands on the bike handles and started to walk it down the road. To Nellie's relief, Raku stayed true to his word. Normally, he was quite talkative, rambling to her about whatever nerdy hobby captivated him that week. Now, he didn't say a word. In fact, he was barely looking at her. He just continued walking, only casting an occasional glance at Nellie to make sure he was walking at her pace. When she was certain that he wasn't looking, Nellie peeked at her ex-boyfriend out of the corner of her eye. The circle under his eyes were as dark as ever, permanently tattooed reminders of his horrific sleeping habits. They stood out darkly against the anemic pallor of his skin. He was usually on the paler side, but he looked even more sickly than normal. Maybe he hadn't been getting enough sleep. Other students at their university used copious amounts of caffeine to fuel last-minute homework assignments or late-night cram sessions, but Nellie knew better. Raku had definitely stayed up all night raiding with his guild and his latest MMORPG addiction, Echidna Online. He conscripted her on a few occasions, giving her precise instructions of what buttons to press while he ran to the bathroom. Those probably should have been better memories, but, strangely enough, Nellie didn't hate those evenings. She would lay on his bed, planting turnips and petting cows on her handheld console, and every once in a while, he would turn to her and grumble about a lackadaisical teammate or celebrate a particular close call. She wondered if his raids went well. He had complained about terrible jobs for the past 2 months. Did he finally get the item that he wanted? Something hit her face. She reached up and wiped the raindrop trickling down her forehead. But as soon as she did that, another droplet hit her face, and then another, and another. Soon, a torrent of water was assaulting them. Nellie drew her hood over her head, guarded from the onslaught by her raincoat. Raku wasn't nearly so lucky.
Over there!
He grabbed her hand, ushering her to an old bus stop at the side of the road. When they entered, Raku wheeled the bike inside, leaning it against the black wall.
Lucky. Glad this was here.
He wiped his face with his sleeve and ran a hand through his hair, flicking some of the water out.
You were even luckier, though.
What do you mean?
He pointed at her coat.
I'm surprised you thought to wear a raincoat. Rain wasn't anywhere on the weather forecast this morning.
Unless she's wearing the coat for another reason.
It was kind of humid, so...
Raku seemed to accept the explanation. He leaned the bike to the side and looked around the inside of the bus stop.
I wonder if the buses still come to this stop. There's no sign.
He took his phone out of his pocket and wiped it on his sweatshirt before thumbing through to the Maps app.
No reception. Can't load anything.
Well, that's wonderful. He squinted at the stormy gray sky.
Maybe it'll stop soon. No choice but to wait.
He plopped himself on the bench, crossing his legs and leaning his elbow on his knee. Nellie chewed her thumb, glaring at the raindrops falling all around them. Should she leave? But if she did that, he might be suspicious. And she couldn't abandon her bike here. Her bag wasn't waterproof either. She brushed off the bench and sat down too. Raku tried to hide a smile. He rubbed the back of his neck and looked all around the inside of the bus stop, his gaze straying to every nook and cranny before finally landing on Nellie.
So, what have you been up to lately?
It's so awkward.
Nothing much. Working on my thesis.
All right. Thesis, okay. Being academic. Can we be nice and ask him?
What about you?
I'd like to say I've been working on my thesis too, but I've been occupied with a personal project.
Personal?
Coding related?
Raku was notoriously capricious with his interests. During the year that they had been together, Nellie had seen him shovel out over a dozen small projects, mobile apps, video games, online tools, and the like. Any small shower thought would be spun into a reality within a weekend.
Something a little different this time.
A cryptic answer, but Nellie resisted the urge to probe.
Well, try not to get too distracted. But I'm sure you'll finish your thesis either way.
No matter how much he procrastinated, Raku always managed to submit his assignments on time, with stellar results. It irked Nellie to no end. Raku smiled.
I wish everyone believed in me the way you do, Nellie. Hey.
He looked her up and down, brows furrowing, scrutinizing the mud in her leggings and raincoat. Nellie shrank under his attentive appraisal.
You're hurt.
I mean, it's just a little skinned knee. Those are usually fine, right?
Huh?
She looked down. As she sat on the bench, the raincoat was pulled up, revealing her knees. Holes had been ripped in both of her leggings, exposing the skin underneath. One knee had small red patches where it had been rubbed raw against the ground. The other had been completely skinned, blood ran down in dark crimson rivulets, staining her leggings a muddy purple. Nellie blinked. Why hadn't she felt anything? Was it the cold? Or the adrenaline? Raku knelt by her knees and rummaged around in his inner jacket pocket, fishing out a white handkerchief. He wiped the blood that was trickling down her leg before diverting his attention to the wound. He dabbed at it carefully, wiping the exposed flesh. Her ex-boyfriend had unfortunately spent all of his skill points on his academic smarts, coding skills, and gaming prowess. He was thoroughly lacking in most of the life's necessary abilities. There was always a 50% chance that his toast would emerge completely charred. He kept his papers in haphazardly organized piles on the floor. Somehow, he even managed to sew an entire shirt sleeve shut while attempting to attach a button. The button was, sadly, not attached. But he was always meticulous. No matter how small the task, Raku expended 120% effort. He would fuss for an hour while reducing a cream sauce to the perfect consistency. When he did her laundry, he carefully smoothed out every wrinkle. When he went out of town and asked him to take care of her cat, he shared a spreadsheet with her detailing every aspect of the pet's care. As she watched him painstakingly try to remove every speck of dirt from her scraped knee, those little thoughts floated through Nellie's head, refusing to leave no matter how hard she tried to push him away. Her mind was foggy, and her heart tightened.
Does it hurt? Unfortunately, all I have is this. Shoot, I wish we were at home. This needs to be cleaned with ethanol. Does that hurt? Tell me if it hurts.
Okay, guy, okay.
I'm fine.
He's really concerned about us. I know it's the scraped knee, but he's very, very concerned. Nellie bit her lip. Her knee didn't hurt, but the sight did. Raku kneeling next to her, worrying and tending to her scrapes and bruises. They had broken up. She'd have been a stranger to him, less than a stranger. Raku tied the handkerchief around the scrape, making sure that it wasn't too tight.
How's that? Okay?
It's fine.
She swallowed. The lump in her throat bobbed in place, refusing to disappear.
Somehow the blood got on the outside of your coat, too. Not a lot, though.
He scrubbed a few spots on the bottom of the raincoat. He gave her coat one last swipe with the handkerchief before getting up and returning to his seat.
I'm sorry. I didn't notice you were hurt.
I said it's okay.
They stood in silence for around 10 minutes, but as they sat still, Nellie could tell that Raku was growing increasingly tense. His leg bounced as he chewed on his lip. Finally, he turned towards her.
Nellie, can we talk?
Here it was. He wanted to talk. Of course he did. They had dated for almost a year and a half. They had even discussed their future plans together. If Raku had sent her a text out of the blue saying, "I'm breaking up with you," then she would have questions too. She didn't want to talk or explain, which is why she had avoided him for 2 weeks after sending the text. She had eluded him very successfully. Until this moment, that is.
Was it something I did? Did I do something wrong?
I don't need to... You're suffocating? Ooh, that one sounds like it hurts.
You're suffocating. You never give me any space or time for myself.
What?
But always asking to eat meals together, or picking me up after class and work, or waiting in the library when I'm in lab.
This is the first time I've heard this. I didn't know you felt that way. I just wanted to spend time with you, Nellie. We're both so busy with our theses and tutoring, and you've got your job at the library. I wanted to take every opportunity to see you. I can change that. I'll wait until you want to spend time together. We were talking about moving in together a month ago. I don't understand how your feelings changed so quickly.
Ooh, a month ago? Was she enthusiastic about that talk? If she was, then the whole month of her changing up. That's kind of concerning. Did you really do something? How clingy was he? Was it that bad though? Now I'm really curious.
They just did.
She looked down and twisted her fingers together. She hesitated to say anything further. It felt like she was standing on the edge of a precipice, and a single word would send her tumbling into the abyss.
Is it because of what I did to Ji-hoon? Because I didn't apologize?
He gritted his teeth.
You know why I did it. You heard all those things he was saying about Sana. Insisting that she was addicted to social media, saying she probably fell because she was trying to take a cute selfie with the sunrise.
Ooh, that's kind of harsh, you know? Maybe he didn't have to beat that guy up.
How could he say that? About his own girlfriend. He deserved more than one punch.
Nellie's mouth tightened. She wanted to protest, to say that wasn't it. In reality, Raku's outburst had been gratifying. At the memorial, she sat in silence, trying to ignore Ji-hoon's prattle so that she could focus on honoring Sana. The seconds felt like grueling hours. She wanted to sew Ji-hoon's mouth shut. When Raku finally hit him, it felt as if Raku had taken all her bubbling indignation and anger and shoved it in Ji-hoon's face.
It's not that.
Then why? When I asked for your number the first time, I didn't really think you'd give it to me. After all, you're you, and I'm me. I didn't think I had a shot with you. But I had to ask. I would have cursed myself if I didn't even try. And you gave it to me. And then you said yes when I asked you out for lunch, and then you kept saying yes. I was so happy, but I also thought that maybe you just viewed me as your gaming friend. So I asked, is this a date? And then you laughed and said, of course it's a date. At that moment, I felt this pang in my chest. I realized something. All of the messy, revolting things that had happened up until that point. The vile vulgarity of my own existence. It was because I had already spent all the luck I had in this lifetime to meet you.
Okay.
I had never met anyone like you before. Even though life hasn't been kind to you, you always find room in your heart to be kind to others. People, plants, animals. Even something as little and creepy and disgusting as an insect.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I still remember when you found a spider in your apartment. Not a small one either. It was perched on the wall above your bed, barely holding on with 3 broken legs. You reached out and caught it in your hands. It would have been so easy to squish it right then and there. But you didn't. You opened the window and let it go. At that moment, I knew you were special. Really special.
I don't remember that at all. Did I do that?
Raku laughed.
You did. I guess you wouldn't remember. It was such a small thing. But I remembered.
Raku turned towards Nellie and slowly extended his arms around her. She stiffened slightly, but she didn't push him away.
You know how you go through life, and you meet all these different people, but none of them really know you. You'll meet and you'll talk about what movie just came out, or what assignment is due next in class, or what food they're serving in the cafeteria. But you can never tell them about the real you. It's like you rush together for a second, and then the next, you're each going your separate ways. And when you stop taking classes together, or you move away, you never see those people again. And your life isn't any different, in the end, because they didn't really know you. But you're different, Nellie. You know me. In some ways, you know me better than my closest friends, and even my family. You know things about me that I could never tell anyone else. And if I couldn't see you anymore, then my life would be different. there would be a big, gaping hole where you used to be. Losing you terrifies me. I'm afraid that no one else would be able to know me the way you do. That I won't be able to open up to anyone else the way I opened up to you. And I don't want anyone else to know me the way you do, because they wouldn't be you.
I didn't know you felt that way about me.
When Nellie didn't resist, Raku pulled her tighter, whispering in her ear,
I don't want to break up. I love you, Nellie. I never want to love anyone but you. You don't feel the same? Not at all?
I do. Nellie stayed silent, but she had consciously leaned into Raku's hold. When her friends talked about their childhoods, Nellie couldn't relate. With a reminiscence, they brought up their beloved childhood cartoons, their favorite vacations, and their cherished family pets. Nellie didn't have memories of any of those things. Oh. Instead, all she remembered was the constant yelling, the embarrassment when she couldn't afford lunch, the fear as she huddled under the covers, never at home, even in her own house, the relief when her father went out one day and never returned. Sometimes she talked to Santa, and Santa tried her best. She listened and nodded and said, I understand completely, but that was a lie. There were simply some things that Nellie's best friend couldn't understand. All Santa could offer was some comforting words. That's rough. That's horrible. I can't believe that happened. As if Nellie's favorite television show had been canceled, or she cracked her phone screen, or she had gotten a D on her latest exam. It wasn't Santa's fault. It didn't make Nellie feel any better. Eventually, Nellie stopped talking about herself altogether. That changed when she met Raku. It wasn't some dramatic encounter. They were sitting in line at the library, both waiting to check out a couple of books. Raku noticed the keychain hanging from her backpack, a small white and blue pixel art spaceship from Space Blasters. When they reached the front of the line, and Nellie handed the librarian her books, they were so excitedly chatting about their favorite retro games. She promised to lend Raku one of her cartridges, and they exchanged contacts. Nellie didn't talk about herself at first. They talked, of course, but it was usually about their shared hobbies. They liked different genres and played in different ways. Raku fancied punishing difficult and expansive exploration, while Nellie preferred methodical leveling her characters with optimized strategies. Still, they had plenty in common. When the conversation veered too personal, Nellie drove it back into the safety of benign small talk. Yet Raku had a way of methodically tearing down her carefully constructed barriers. As they lounged on his bed, full and drowsy from eating too much cheap pizza, the world started slipping out of her mouth, one by one. For Nellie, Raku was different. When he listened to her darkest thoughts, he didn't look at her with pity, skepticism, disgust, or apathy. He looked at her with understanding, as if he had been with her every step of the way. Raku was special. That's exactly why they had to break up. She couldn't involve him in her life or her problems. Oh, this is an actual it's not you, it's the me situation. She had to end it. Nellie wormed her hands between their bodies and pushed Raku away, forcefully. Ooh, be cruel, be kind, be firm. I don't want to be mean to him now that we know why she broke up.
I understand how you feel, but you'll find someone else. There are plenty of people way better for you than me. You just haven't met them yet. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm not ready for this kind of relationship right now.
So that's it? It's over? Just like that?
Nellie's voice was resolute.
It's over.
Oof.
It's over.
I'm so sorry, man. He even looked off to the side.
It's over.
You're good. You're good. You'll be good. I promise.
It's over.
Oh no. Every time he repeated himself, his face darkened. I don't think he's handling it properly.
Even though I've loved you for years. Even though I loved you this much.
He lowered his head, dragging a hand through his hair as he turned away from her. He returned to the other side of the bus stop, leaning one hand heavily against the wall as raindrops dampened his worn-out orange sneakers. Nellie thought about responding. She considered spouting a few words of comfort, reassuring her ex-boyfriend with some cliché lines. It's not you, it's me. I'm not good enough for you. She was his first serious girlfriend. He had told her as much. He had never experienced heartbreak. He was a child crying over his first scraped knee, acting like his leg had been amputated without anesthesia. She reconsidered and stayed silent. It was better if he believed that she was cruel and callous. After a few weeks of sad gaming session and angry rants to his friends, he'd probably forget about her altogether. Oh, honey, sweetie, I don't think that's true. Besides, she couldn't worry about him right now. She had bigger problems at hand. He straightened. When he stood in front of her again, there was something different about his expression. Something colder, more resolute. As if he had made some sort of decision during his morose period of introspection.
I heard about you and Ji-hoon. I've seen you two around.
Ooh. Prickles ran up Nellie's spine.
What about it? Are you going to start policing who I spend time with? I don't see how that's any business of yours.
People have been talking, saying that you took advantage of your best friend's death to cozy up to her rich boyfriend. They said that you two spent a lot of time together, that you went to his house on Friday. Is that why you broke up with me? Because you wanted to get together with Ji-hoon? Do you love him?
No? Her? In love with Ji-hoon? The very thought made Nellie want to vomit. She would rather date an insect.
I don't.
Very resolute. Yes, yes, yes.
Then, is it someone else?
She didn't want to lie, but if she stayed quiet, then maybe Raku would come down to his own conclusions and drop the matter.
What am I supposed to do? What can I say? I don't want to lose you.
His voice was soft and quiet, almost pitiful.
For me, a world with only you is enough, Nellie. I only need you. No matter who you are, or what you've done. You don't need me. You don't even want me.
Nellie opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. She simply stared at Raku's face, eyes widening. When she finally responded, she didn't say the words that she had intended to say.
What are you?
Raku reached up and touched his face, tracing his fingers over his eyebrow ridge, along his mouth, and down his chin. Ooh, reveal?
Oh no, I got a little worked up. Wait.
Nellie leaned back on her elbows and booted Raku square in the chest. He coughed as the air was knocked from his lungs, landing hard in a puddle on the concrete. Show the face! She broke off into a run down the road. She left her bike at the bus stop, but she didn't care. The only thought in her head was run, run, run. See, I like that. I like how she's smart. See something strange, immediately run, instead of thinking, oh, are you okay? What's happening? Are you who I really think you are? I like her. The raindrops pelted her face painfully, but she didn't stop to put her hood up. Every time her energy started to wane and her pace slowed, the image of Raku's face flashed under her eyelids and she ran faster. After she had sprinted for 20 minutes, she dared to glance behind her. He wasn't following. But she didn't stop running, not for a second. By the time she made it back to town, it had stopped raining and the sun was high in the sky, ready to make the trip down. As she approached her apartment building, the town was dyed in sunset hues and the sky was beginning to dim. She sprinted to the entrance, looking behind her every so often. When she was inside, she darted up the stairs, which whined at every frantic step. Nellie went up to her apartment and fumbled her keys out of her pocket. She slammed the door shut behind her. The first thing that she did when she entered the darkened room was scoop up her cat, who sashayed up to her, meowing for attention and food. Always protect the kitties. Nellie forcefully turned the lock on her door, as if the extra effort would somehow make the bolt more secure. As she checked the lock, she had a sudden chilling realization. Raku had a key to her apartment. Nellie dropped her cat and dragged her bookshelf in front of the door. She hoped that would be enough to stop him. She didn't know. She crouched behind her bed, holding a broom with her kitchen knife duct taped to the end. But she didn't know that much about weapons, and this improvised spear was the best she could come up with from the items in her house. That's very resourceful though, so if she needs to stab him, she doesn't have to get up close. As she waited, Nellie examined the shoddy tool. Could she really use this against Raku? The Raku that brought her rice balls when she was too stressed and tired to cook. The Raku that always seemed to know when she wanted to hug. The Raku that... Nellie gripped the shaft of the broom. She could. She could do anything to defend herself. She would do anything to defend herself. After all, she had done it before. A couple of hours passed. Every time Nellie heard footsteps creaking in the hallway, her heart jumped, and she grabbed her makeshift weapon. But each time the footsteps faded away without approaching. Eventually, she relaxed enough to venture to the kitchen, where she opened a tin of cat food for her increasingly whiny companion. She put the contents of the yellow bag in the freezer, before eating a quarter of leftover sandwich, keeping a close eye on the door. Why would she put it in the freezer though? What's in the bag? I think I might remember when my last gameplay. Monday passed. Tuesday passed too. The only visitor that she received was a spider that appeared on her closet door. It stayed for a while, appraising her with curiously icy eyes. Every few hours, it would change its position slightly, moving to the bedpost, the ceiling, and finally, the curtain hanging over the window. Her phone buzzed. Calendar reminders about her classes, messages about her missed tutoring sessions, emails from her lab partners and her thesis advisor. Eventually, she turned her phone off altogether. Oh, she really hunkered down. On Wednesday morning, a sharp rap came from the door. Nellie huddled next to her bed, holding her cat close. She worried that the bookshelf wouldn't hold. A human voice emanated from behind the door. It wasn't Raku. Nellie Owens? This is the police. Are we going to jail? I think I'll definitely rescue you. Wait for me. And I think that's the end. Yep. I think I remember a bit from my last gameplay. I think last time when I tried to record this, I did 2 playthroughs. I think it has to do with Ji-hoon and the death of Sana. I think it was like Ji-hoon maybe was the reason why Sana died and Nellie went to get like evidence or revenge or something against Ji-hoon, and maybe she accidentally injured or killed him. I am not 100% sure. If you guys want to know, you definitely should play through the game yourself and get all of the endings though. So yeah, so we got the ending. All right. So there is 4 of them. We currently got 1. So let's go home. All right, yeah. So that was Karamu, one playthrough for one of the endings. So I believe, honestly, in all of the endings, it definitely ends with us seeing something wrong with Raku and then running to the apartment and then the police eventually showing up to arrest us. So what I've seen on itch.io, this is supposed to be a 3-parter game. So Karamu is the first one. Kanao is technically a prequel of this. I don't think the third one has been released yet. So definitely keep up with the updates for that. So I really enjoyed playing through this like the third time. I definitely forgot some of the details, but it's nice to go through. I really enjoyed the live 2D for the characters, like the CGs and everything. It made the game feel more lively. I don't usually play games where the MC is voiced, or at least I can turn it off myself since I like reading it. But I did enjoy it a bit. Did have some stuff for me to read, and the MC's voice is pretty good. I like Nelly's and Raku's voice. Definitely check out their voice actings. Hopefully they have other works they have available for you to check out. And I think that is it. As always, I have relevant links in the bottom so you can try out the game for yourself or what have you. Definitely try and get some different endings. And so I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, you know, what have you, to if you want to continue to support my content. I will continue to release more Halloween spooky type stuff for this month. Hopefully. I definitely have a few recorded. I'm trying to stay on a consistent schedule. So once again, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Bye!